they no longer rather trust their own government or leaders of the United States and the EU. So you think such a report has gotten it spot on to lay this narrative that government is shielding herdsmen whilst going for ISWAP? Or you think that probably it's too early to tell until we know who is really and truly behind this?
This is not the time for labeling or blaming one group or the other. It's just for government to accept its responsibility. Its failure to protect the life and properties of Nigerian citizens. It's an impitiable because I've said it over and over time again. Because when government comes into play, when you come into power, the sworn oath, and part of the oath is to protect the lives and property of the citizens. So when government fails in fulfilling its oath, that's an impitiable offense. Because whether it's SWAP or X-Men or gunmen, the average citizen cares less about that. What the average citizen cares about is for the provision of security that secures life and property, that maintains the territorial integrity of the nation. How would you explain that a government is writing a report and is shielding one group, blaming the other for breakdown of law and order in the society? It's just the religion of duty as far as I'm concerned. You ask yourself this question: how did this group that were dispersed from Syria and Iraq under Donald Trump moved into the the Sahel, into West Africa? That's the question you ask. And then how did they move down south? We thought they were limited to, we were dealing with Boko Haram, and then we couldn't deal with that, causing havoc in the society, killing people, children, raping women, and then we give it different types of names. That don't, the simple terms, they are terrorists. When you have a situation whereby government rewards criminality, you say some people are repentant, and we bring them back into society. When you have a systemic reward of criminality, this is what you have at hand.
All right, Jide Johnson, let's quickly look at this. The question here is, don't you think it's time that Nigerians, or we as a country, accept the issue of family planning and trying to control the kind of population that we have, size of family? Now, on the leadership newspaper, religious belief and myth orders hindering acceptance of family planning, we're looking at 17%, and that's the report. Now, if you want to also juxtapose that with a report from the World Bank, Nigerian poverty rate, and all of the reporters out, 4 in 10 persons live below the poverty line. Is it not time that we look beyond religious myth and whatever it is and accept family planning and other measures to control population?
Population is a blessing if you know how to harness your human resource and your natural resource. The population of China, the population of India, the population of the United States of America, and if you look at the population density of Japan to the landmass of Japan, you begin to wonder when people begin to talk about population control. Right? And it's not what we have is over concentration of people in the urban area. Just take a trip outside of Lagos. On your way from, once you leave Redeem Camp, tell me how many communities you see along the road before you get to Ibadan. Or you travel to the east. What we are, if we harness the landmass we have, and we devote resources to agriculture, and we reduce rural urban migration, and we go back to the farm, government makes strategic investment into agricultural produce, you will see the foreign exchange earning that Nigeria will derive from agriculture. You will see, then you understand that population it's an advantage if the human resource and the natural resource is
but Jide Johnson,
proper leadership.
I like the fact that I like the fact, Jide Johnson.
I want to bring that story to a particular story that NFPC makes $1 billion for selling what? Natural gas to Portugal. Because some of us were asking the question, why was the president visiting Portugal? While ago he visited Spain, he could have combined the two. That's Iberian Peninsula. He could have visited the two nations. But you see the story, because something was properly addressed. Do we have opportunities of using where we have comparative advantage in terms of natural resources, in terms of human capacity development, to do that? When nations like Canada are asking for more people to come, they develop means for people to migrate to their country in order to boost the population of their country. People are talking about bad control and the rest of it. It's because we don't have good leaders. It's bad leadership.
I mean,
you don't need
Johnson,
to tell people how to plan their family. Economic realities will tell people whether to plan or not to plan. But the most important thing is that we harness our resources, I can tell you, both human and natural.
No, but you have mentioned, Jide Johnson, it's a good thing that you have also mentioned and identified the fact that, population can be a plus, it can be a blessing, especially where you have, countries and people harnessing and taking advantage of the population. And it therefore means it can also be a curse. And in this particular case, because we're not doing the needful, is it not important that we put some measures and we begin to look beyond religious belief and all of the myth and try to see, because it feels like it might just become a disaster to us. I mean, a population that is not productive and not active, and where you have people asking for 2,000 naira every other time because people are hungry. There's a lot going on. Is it not time that we look beyond all of this sentiment and put a stop to it?
There's a national population as far back as 1988 that the family should not be more than a family of 4 children. 4 children linked to the family. But I can tell you for a fact, if you look at an average family in Nigeria in my generation, how many family has more than 4 children? In actual sense, you can take a survey of the present generation and you ask them how many of them want to give birth to more than 2 children. Some have even limited it to 1 that they want to. I became a father in 2002. I never wanted to have more than 2 children. That's as far back as then. And I knew many friends that have just 2 children. So when people talk about this issue, there is a political undertone. There is also an economic undertone. And there is also the influence of the big pharmaceutical company in order to sell their own contraceptives to Africa. So there are so many dimensions to all of these things which you talk about. Because if you look at the reality we have on ground, economic policies in Nigeria as a result of government failure has made an average Nigerian to rationalize that it is better for me to have a manageable family. And that's the reality. So for when people are very religious, there is a lot of undertone. And then a lot of those undertones characterize the issue of vaccine mandate across the globe. So there are different types of interests that are involved. When they begin to advance some of these issues, there are some undertones with respect.
So, but how do you also explain? I mean, just as Kofi comes in with the next question, and we then begin to coast it down on the paper this morning. But how do you explain the fact? I mean, let's be realistic. Sometimes I think that everything shouldn't be politicized, and we need to look at a current reality. So, in a situation where you have a man, this is a reality. I mean, this is not hearsay. A 39-year-old man having 9 children, he can cater for. Now that's so much. That's a lot. I mean, you look at the source of livelihood. How do you manage 9 children? That's so much at 39. So, like I would say, is it not time that we look at our current reality and begin to speak the truth to ourselves as Nigerians and as a people? You have talked about harnessing and ensuring that you have what it takes, to push. Is it not important that we look at this so we don't, begin to chunk out children that we can't cater for, and then they constitute a nuisance and security threat to the nation.
How do you justify the numbers of convoys, numbers of cars in governors and presidents? How do you justify the allowance?
Jide Johnson, I mean, you have answered it already.
How do you justify? Is that what?
You actually answered it from the beginning.
You see, it is because, one, we don't have a social welfare system. The resources we have in Nigeria, if you divide the Nigerian budget over the total population of Nigeria, or we look at the population density of Nigeria, we are nowhere near what this issue is raising. As far as I'm concerned, we have not even properly harnessed the population that we have, combined with the resources that God has given to us because of poor leadership. I can tell you, those that are advocating that the people should embrace population as a result of bad control, as a result of having bad control, as a result of managing economy. They are not even managing our resources very well.
All right, Jide Johnson, thank you very much. We are almost out of time. Let's just take one more headline. And this one comes from the Punch newspaper. I think some good news. I don't know what you would say that. 4,770 terrorists surrendered in 2 weeks. This according to the defense headquarters. They released information yesterday disclosing that 4,770 Boko Haram terrorists had surrendered to the troops between June 1 and June 15, 2022. Now, those who surrendered, according to the military high command, include 2,490 children. I just want to make that pointed out. 2,490 children, 1,415 women, and 814 men. Over to you.
Well, we'll see what government does with that. Probably those ones who are repentant Boko Haram, they'll be integrated back in the society. And that has been the policies of the government. As far as I'm concerned, I want to close with the story with people with disabilities that the House of Rep passed a legislation to make their retirement 70 years. I think that's the principle of social inclusion, and that's a welcome development. The National Assembly should be commended for that, ensuring that people with disabilities are given inclusion within the society and recognition they deserve. As far as the issue of the defense headquarters, I am less interested. We've been seeing that for many, many years, and we see these people going back and to their various terrorist groups to cause havoc again. When people have they've been cornered into a particular piece.
Be when you were younger, and then
Spider-Man. I wanted to be Nigeria Spider-Man.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to be Nigeria Spider-Man. Like every child, you want to be this, then you want to be that, then you want to be that. But there was one thing that, after a while, I was like, I think I would like to be an inventor. The picture I had in my head is a mad inventor in his basement, always creating something new. And then there's a world out there with the thing he creates. You can be watching them play with the thing from outside so that they don't. So that's sort of the picture I had in my head for what I want to be when I grow up. As things evolved, I thought the solution to that was, I'm going to become an electronics expert. I'm going to move to Japan. Then growing up was like Sharp and Sanyo. I'm going to move to Japan and become an electronics expert. Then because of that, I went to study electrical engineering. Then in the course of studying electrical engineering, I'm like, this thing is hard. I don't think this is going to work. Somewhere in the course of that, I picked up coding. And that's how I entered tech. But I wanted to be an inventor. I hope somehow I'm halfway in the course of that journey now. Maybe somehow I could be an inventor.
Interesting. So, the thing with tech, especially when you hear that people raise so much money, many people don't hear about the not so successful stories. So I want you to tell us about Twi Labs. What was it about? What happened and all?
Okay, so I was like, I'm going to start a company. it's time. So I've always planned to start a company, like as far back as I know. Even growing up, I told my parents when I was leaving school that I don't want to work for anybody. My mom convinced me that no, you need to start from somewhere. This thing, you don't just jump into it. So the start from somewhere ended up becoming like 13 years of paid employment. But I'd always thought I would start something someday that would invent something. And my thought was, after spending quite some time in the corporate world, to start a lab that can produce products on the fly and turn those products into companies. Like that was the idea behind Toy Labs. Luckily for me, I had like a group of friends who understood that concept, who backed us with a little bit amount of capital to get started. But before we knew it, the money was finished. None of the product had taken roots. It didn't know they work, if I can put it like that. All the money had gone. My savings had gone with it. I'd moved from the house I was living to another one, taking my daughter from the school she was in to another one. My second daughter could not start school yet because, are you sure we can afford this thing now? So there was all of that going on. I put my wife's car on Uber. So there was quite a bit of that. And then, but all of this happened in the space of 1 year. Like this entire, from employed guy that thought it was all that to this guy is just struggling and doesn't know what he's doing. All of it happened in like 1 year. Then was at the end of that 1 year, we're like, let's do something different. Which of the things in these 2 labs look like it is making sense? It was the thing then called PayPipe, like payment aggregation. Like, okay, can we reorganize it a little bit and call it one pipe instead and turn it to a company, and let's just face it. It was a painful process. Like 2 labs were 24 people at some point. We had to let go of almost everybody.
Oh, wow.
And it was just 6 of us that crossed to continue the one pipe journey out of that. So yes, it was a painful personal experience for me. I won't lie. It really was painful. I'm like, who sent you to do this thing? But
what are the lessons that you've learned from the failure of Toy Labs and you are using very effectively in one pipe now?
To be honest, I would say the biggest lesson is that there are no failures, that there's only learning. And whatever you think is a failure, it's really just if your staying power can get past that phase. The thing you went through in that period is a contribution for you. Like one of the things I took away from the Toy Labs experience was that I find that younger, hungry, driven people are an asset for you. Like we are all trying to make this thing work. We don't know this thing, so we're trying to do it. So people with such a mindset are a significant asset versus people with a chip on their shoulder, at least depending on the stage that you are in. I took that lesson, and it's even part of the things that drive our hiring process at One Pipe now. Like we need to check, like in every interview, we make sure that we ask the people, what do you really want from your life in 5 years? You have to articulate it as clearly as you want. And you have to articulate it back to us how we can help you do that before we even discuss your work at One Pipe. Like what's important to you? Do you see us helping? Is there a line that we can find some kind of synergy? If yes, let's continue this interview. If not, it's been real. We shake hands, we move.
Yes, that's very interesting. Okay, so let's talk about you've started this company, finding the right staff of people, because I know like the tech space, they put your people like this. Somebody is dangling money somewhere. Somebody is, so you've gone through this process. This person has, pledged their loyalty and everything to you, but look, somebody's promising me ×5 of my salary. They'll move me abroad. They'll do all of that. How do you? You've talked about getting the right stuff, but how do you now keep this good talent that you have for your business?
If I tell you I know the answer, I am lying, because if I know the answer, I shouldn't be running One Pipe. I should be running some kind of talent thing. But hard facts will be, since we started One Pipe, we're roughly 33 now, if I have the number correct. Up until December this year, only one person had ever left us. And
how many years has One Pipe existed for?
3 now.
3 years, okay.
Yeah. So while people talk about talent attrition, I think we don't have that problem, at least not yet. What is working, I think only time will tell. But I think part of what our team likes is this sense of openness, transparency. Like I go to them, I'm a first-time CEO. Like I don't know this thing. So if you ask me, 2 of us are looking at each other. So I think people appreciate that sense of candor.
Honesty, yeah.
They appreciate that sense of I'm supporting this guy. Now, for me, that's like something to even be afraid of. Like I always tell them, don't look up to me, I beg. Me too, I'm looking for who to look up to. Like, don't look up to me. But I think that kind of candor, this is a real place where all real people helps people. And we even look each other in the eye and say, I know you're in the tech space, I know they are dangling carrots in front of the guy. My guy, feel free to explore. Just make sure that this our mission that we're pursuing together does not suffer. Like I belong to several like tech groups where I'm like, this guy is on my team, but look at him in this channel doing this other gig. Like, it's fine. As long as there's a mission we're chasing, our mission is moving, and you need to support yourself with some other way or some other thing, please keep doing that. Let's just keep our mission going. And everyone is an equity holder in the company. So it feels like it's our company. So no matter what you do, when you need more money, go find your more money somewhere. We don't have it here. But see, your long-term value is here. So let's just do it together. So a sense of mission, joint ownership, maybe. But time will tell if those are the right formula to.
Well done. Like, I know it's not as easy as I've just made it sound so simple.
It's not simple.
Okay, so let's talk about embedded finance. Break it down to me as a layman in the simplest of terms. What is embedded finance?
Okay, I'll use a very practical example if you don't mind. I ran into a company in Kenya that says we provide inputs to fish farmers.
Okay.
Now, this input costs a lot of money. The average fish farmer cannot afford the input. But you know, you're looking at the guy's pond. I know that in 9 months, this pond is worth $50,000. You know that. But you need to supply feed of X value. You need to feed them every day of this value. And just doesn't have it. But in the meantime, you need to pay school fees. You need to pay transport, buy petrol. So this company provided those fish farmers that I'll be the one sending you your inputs. I'll be the one paying for the things you need in your life. But when your fish is done, I'm the one who collects it and I'm the one who sells it. Now, effectively, this company became the bank of the farmer. It's like, I will give you money every month. I will pay for all the things you need me to pay for. I'll give you a small bank account that your money is inside. I can use to do the things that matter to you. Be spending on me. But 9 months later, when your fish are ready, I'm going to harvest it and I'm going to go sell it and bring you back your small change. So embedded finance is an approach where non-finance companies can provide finance products to customers that they know in their own value chain usually, and as a way to be the bank of those people. And once you put it that way, it's like, if you put it in practical terms of how we all grew up, it's like cooperative bank when we were all coming up. The cooperative banks were usually small, in small communities, and they were like banks of the people. So the cooperative bank in my mother's area was for all the women in that area. The bank would provide credit to them, they deposit money in there, but it was like our bank. So we think that in the African context, there are so many value chains like that, that there's the room to create banking experiences that are localized to specific value chains like that. So embedded finance makes it possible for such organizers of such value chains to offer banking services without being the bank at the back. Because typically they will do a deal with the bank at the back and then sort of repackage the bank's products and present it to their own customers in their own name.
So is the Nigerian banking space, or should I say financial space, ready to take on this? How has it been, accepting it and, working with this process? How has the process been?
It's hard work, first. Is the environment accepting it? I'll say the environment is not accepting it. So it's hard work. You need to do a lot of evangelizing, part of why we're having this conversation. You need to help people to come away from the biases or their understanding of how things are. Like, you need to convince a bank, for example, to say, banking is not people coming into your branch to open an account with your people so that you give them one card that they use somehow. That banking could actually be an arrangement between you and that aggregator of fish farming to go find 50 farmers to work with, and they will all carry the account of your bank. But you won't be able to control the actual last mile experience because that guy is handling it for you. So it's sort of, there's some evangelizing required. But so far, we find out that people understand, especially when you look outside Africa. You're already seeing examples of this in other parts of the world. Like on Shopify merchants have a Shopify account, so to speak. On Square, you have your Square account. Walmart gives you a card. So people who have seen some of these things in other parts of the world are wondering, there should be an adaptation for this thing in Africa. So people get it, but typically what you need to do is to push people over the edge to appreciate and move in that direction.
Interesting. Okay, we'll take a short break and then we'll continue this conversation shortly. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll still be talking to Okpe Adeoye about embedded finance. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Space and Style, a property show designed to connect various stakeholders across the property value chain. We can also provide realistic solutions and deepen your knowledge about the interesting world of real estate. We shall showcase architectural design, interior design trends, lifestyle and real-time property news updates, and the right way to navigate through property development and investment. Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Fumi Onajefe and you're watching One on One. I have Okpe Adeoye with me. So, what are the, now you've talked about the banking institutions or the financial institutions accepting your platforms, but let's talk about the businesses. What challenges will it help the businesses? So we've used this example of the fish farmers, for example, and you know, it's great that you use that example for me because recently I spoke with like a couple of female fish farmers and all the challenges and all. So what is their own benefits? What challenges will embedded financing help them overcome?
Yeah, so imagine that you are the company that is doing this deal with these fish farmers. You likely have a larger company, maybe some hotel chain that you need to supply fish to, and it is competitive, and you know it. And you need to be able to supply high quality fish to them to serve to their own guests in whatever way, shape, or form. So you already have your own problem. And you are struggling with getting supply for that. Now, by offering this financial product, so to speak, to those fish farmers, you can, to a large extent, guarantee the type of fish you will get. To a large extent, buy the loyalty of the farmer where possible. Buy the loyalty of the farmer to say, it will always come to me so that I can go sell. You know you can always sell for much higher margins. You are the one in Lagos or wherever it is you are. So the benefits to them usually are typically translated in the form of loyalty down the chain. In some cases where it is not, if I'm not using fish farming, for example, maybe retail, in some cases it is more efficient payment processing. We find cases where maybe retailers are supposed to pay to distributors, and the distributors always have to collect cash from the retailer and then look for how to dispose of that cash in the evening. Things like embedded finance eliminate those kind of problems for them. So it is loyalty, more efficient payment processing, and in some cases you can increase the basket size of the value between you and your customer because you offer them credit, as an example.
Okay, so now you've talked about evangelizing. What has been like the greatest challenge for you with, you know, because it's almost like something that has apparently almost like never existed or is not very common in this space. So what particular challenges are you facing right now?
The biggest challenge is the challenge of saying, let's do it this way. That's really the biggest challenge. One of the things we always talk about at One Pipe, for example, is there are two philosophies in this world of embedded finance, or however you craft it. There are two philosophies. One is people already have bank accounts somewhere.
Yeah.
You need some way to reach into that bank account and do all the things you want to do. One philosophy. Another philosophy is, see that place where that money is. The effort required to reach into it, work out the process, create the best experience to see is so hard. Kuku just give them brand new types of accounts that you have this 100% access to upfront, so that you can now create these most seamless experiences possible. Two very divergent views on the same problem, right? We chose this other approach of let's create brand new accounts, let's list them with all the right properties at the beginning, and let's find the right customer set that needs that type of account. The hard part is having the conversation with a business customer who is telling you, I just want to process payment from the account in that other bank. And then you are saying, no, but how about this other way? So the hardest part is evangelizing that this other way has much more long-term value to a customer than what they think they know today. For some of us, it constrains the kind of customers we can have, because like my team will always say, let's talk to a customer, let's paint this long-term vision. If a customer can connect with that long-term vision, that's our ideal customer. Then let's go to how it can work. If a customer cannot and just says, no, I want today's need and carry long-term value for you.
But I think another challenge is, without trying to mention any big names, have you had people compare you and say, oh, so and so already do this?
Not today.
How are you different from this other person?
Yeah, it comes up a lot. It comes up a lot. And the answer we give is the same one I just gave you. So and so and so and so do it this way because they're trying to help you reach into existing accounts, which is what you really came to ask for. But hold on a minute, let me explain to you how it is more valuable to you to actually be the bank of your customer. This. Maybe 60% of the people will fall off when you say that. Like, no, I don't. Call me in 3 years' time when I'm ready for this time. Thank you, sir. Step aside. We'll move to the next person. So that comparison comes up a lot, but the answer is always, hold on a second. Let me walk you through what this world could look like in 5 years' time. Do you like it? Yes, let's move forward. You don't like it? Go to so and so and so. They are nice people.
Okay, fantastic. Now let's talk about the tech space. So every time I'm reading, all the tech blogs and everything of how you've raised money here, people have raised money here, and there's a huge amount of money. So is it really that easy for tech companies to, specifically to your own experience, how easy or difficult is it to raise money and get investors to believe in you that, look, I'm not selling moi here, this is a real
This
deal.
is a serious thing. Yeah. I'll answer that with a very vivid picture. We've raised funding twice, once in 2020 and 2021. So we raised 950, then we raised 3.5 million. And after each cycle...
$3.5 million or naira?
Dollars.
Okay.
After each cycle, I personally felt sick.
Oh, wow.
Like, we finished fundraising. Where's Okwe? He's sick. So, short answer is it's not easy. People fall sick after they raise money. But I think it gets better. So, one of the things I'm learning personally is that in fundraising, you make a commitment. You talk to a lot of people and you make a commitment on what your company will do. Several will buy your promise and you take your first move. Then you come for your next funding round and you need to demonstrate that, you see that promise I made the last time, we fulfilled it. Do you want to back us again? What you then find happen is that after your second, third, fourth round, it kind of gets easier as long as you are fulfilling the promise you made. And those who didn't back you at the beginning, when you were still like,
We'll come back.
you now be like, I missed that round. Okay, can we do it now? That's sort of where we are now. So it's not easy, but the way to do it is make a promise. A percentage of people will believe in you, fulfill that promise, go back to those who didn't believe and be like, are you sure you don't want to get on this train? That's sort of the formula.
Okay, so let's look at the tech space in Nigeria. It seems almost like it's just quantity over quality, and we don't have so many like unicorns, in Nigeria. What do we need to do? And the way I said what does Nigeria and the tech space need to do so that we can grow or have our own unicorns?
While I'm not a finance expert, I'm just a guy that presses laptop. So I cannot really give the proper answer to that. But I've heard people who know more than me say that this thing is just a timing thing. That Nigeria or Africa in general looks to be 5 years behind Far East Asia. So we are where Far East Asia was 5 years ago. So therefore this thing is timing based, and some of the things that it takes off based on, like you see momentum now. As the momentum picks up, you start to see, one more unicorn, another unicorn, and even beyond unicorn. Like unicorns, to me, is one of those things you just throw around. But beyond the concept of unicorn, like where's the value being created? Where are the exits, for example? Are people really making money off this thing? When they make that money, do they plow it back into the market so that the thing can keep going? I think you start to see the effects of some of these things in the next 3 to 5 years. You will see founders, I've even seen some of it now, you see founders who have managed to make some money off their company, backing other founders, right? And then those ones too will somehow push it through another 3 years, they'll back even more. So my view is that it's these things that create the momentum that we would like to see. And about 5 years from now, Nigeria will look like what Far East Asia, or Africa will look like what Far East Asia looks like now.
Okay, so the tech space in Nigeria is really growing and it's fantastic. But some people have said, without trying to mention any big names or anything, is that I've grown this tech company, I've gone to get VCs from out of the company, and they're saying, look, you can't register this company in Nigeria, let the shell be here and just be living large, but you have to come and register it in a foreign country and all of that. So how does that work? How does that eventually benefit? Because I almost feel like, does this defeat the whole African-owned, local-grown tech company idea? And how does it still benefit the economy?
To be fair, I think it's a give and take. If you cannot plow your own capital into your own society, and you find somebody looking to put in the capital in, you need to meet them in the middle, right? If the person says, well, your company needs to be in Delaware, then your company needs to be in Delaware so that you can get the capital you need. What you gain, that capital is now deployed in your country. You are employing people in your country. You are creating products for the fish farmers in your country, etc., etc. So while you may not be able to create the long-term value, at least from a capital appreciation perspective in your country, from the actual operating performance, it is happening in your country. You are pushing your country along, right? But maybe the long-term value of the company lies in another country. That's fine. It's give and take.
Okay, so on that note, we'll take another short break. Opo is still, I hope you're enjoying this conversation. It's a very, insightful and learning process for me. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
Thank you for staying with us. I still have Opo Adeoye with me, and yes, we're talking finance, tech space, growing a business, and the entire works. So the African fintech ecosystem has the most attractive investors. That's attracted about 62% of $4.65 billion US raised. Wow, interesting. I have to get into the tech space. I know it's work, but I want to make money. But why is this happening up there? How come the African tech space is so attractive to a lot of investors now?
Yeah, my view is Africa has significant infrastructure deficits, step one. Whether you think of infrastructure in terms of people, whether you think of it in terms of road and rail, or you think of it in terms of financial infrastructure or credit infrastructure, we just have problem full everywhere. So where there's problem lies opportunity.
Solutions, yeah.
And then if you look at, say, the Western markets, the return on capital is not as high as it used to be, etc., etc. So if you are somebody who has a lot of money and you're in the US or UK, and you're looking for how to turn this money around, okay, invest it in a place where there's problem. Of course, you lose some of that money. But when you do solve those problems, your money goes like this. So I think that's why the African tech market is attracting funding, because maybe tech companies are trying to solve some of these infrastructure problems, and fintech in general is a bit easier to solve than the more physical infrastructure problems. So capital will naturally follow where it thinks it to get its money back.
Okay, interesting. So what advice do you have for key players in industry, finance space, in fact, the entire tech space? What advice concerning, succeeding? And that's why it was very essential for me that you shared your 2i lab story. People have done, and a lot of people come out for funding and we hear success story, but there are a lot of people at the back end who are still trying to, work off. What advice do you have for these people?
First off, don't take my advice. That's the best advice I can give you. Even me, I'm looking for advice. So I will not say I have advice. I will only say that one of the things that at least I personally believe in is collaboration. Like, what can you do? What can I do? How can my 1 + 1 become 3? How can my 1 + your own 1 become 3? Like, we should always all be looking for ways to do that. I know it's not easy, especially when we all get funded. We think we can do it.
Yeah, but people are worried. Sorry, I have to interrupt you with that. Some people are worried that we should collaborate. What if this Lagbaja goes take my idea and runs off with it and everything?
Idea? What are they using it for? Idea is nothing. It's the coming together to actually make the idea executable that actually carries value. Like, what is idea? Come and take idea. It's all over the place. I don't think idea is the problem. I think it's just a willingness to say, I'm good at, knitting. You are good at selling knitting. Please, can we come together and create sweater and sell it? Bam. Not, I'm going to learn how to make sweater. And I'm going to learn how to sell sweater so that I can keep it all to myself. There's really no point. Don't tight your chest. Yeah.
Interesting. So what's this writing challenge you just put up?
Okay, so back to like how you mentioned that what are the things we're putting effort into right now around evangelizing this concept in general. So our thought was that with this writing challenge, we will get people who are better at writing, better at research, to do the research around the concept of embedded finance and write openly about it. When the writings get published, we then pay winnings to the best write-ups. We have a panel of judges that's going to review all of the submissions, and then the best published articles get paid good prizes, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Ope, for sharing your story. We hope as you get bigger, you raise more money. I won't have to remember me now. I won't have to be chasing you around.
Save the number.
I'd be like, oh, for me, I'm somewhere in London right now, I'm too busy. But thank you so much for your time. Even I, really, you've just made it, because at first, before I did this interview, it seemed all very gibberish and complex. I was telling my colleague and telling you earlier of how I was really studying like I was reading an exam, because I was like, I want to understand this financial thing. But it really has been a good conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And that's all we can take today on this episode for One-on-One. Follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And I'll see you again very soon. My name is Fumenu Ajepe. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Good afternoon, I am Khadijat Balogun, and this is the News Brief. Stakeholders and political candidates in the Osun governorship election coming up on Saturday have been urged to demonstrate all-round commitment to conducive environment for peaceful conduct of the July 16th election. This admonition was given in Osogbo during the signing of Peace Accord organized by National Peace Committee for candidates contesting in the Osun 2022 governorship election. Heads of security operatives, traditional rulers led by the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, and key officials of INEC were in attendance at the Peace Pact signed by 13 out of the 15 candidates contesting the election. Speaking, the convener of National Peace Committee, Dr. Bishop Matthew Kuka, noted that a credible election under peaceful atmosphere is a pathway to the sustainability of the teneth and growth of democracy, as well as unity and corporate existence of the nation. Bishop Kuka maintained that demonstration of commitment to peaceful and enabling environment is sacrosanct to preventing voting apathy and to have a free, fair, and credible elections.
Class, in the name of the Peace Committee, I want to appeal to you. We love our country, we love our democracy, but please, politicians in Nigeria, we beg you, make it possible for us to trust you. Make it possible for us to love you. Make it possible for us to show that by choosing democracy, we have chosen to stay alive.
The success of the Peace Accord depends on the continuous support and commitment of political parties and candidates, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the security agencies. Speaking for INEC, I wish to reiterate our commitment to transparent and credible elections.
Police, in synergy, collaboration with other sister security agencies, and of course, all the law enforcement agencies in Nigeria are fully prepared to ensure that we create a conducive atmosphere and enabling environment for the conduct of peaceful, credible election.
One thing we can assure you of is, as traditional rulers, we will ensure that we keep our community and every locality that we are ruling over, we will make sure that everything is set.
The Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed Thursday to deliver judgment in a suit seeking the disqualification of Governor Adegboyega Oyetola of Osun State as the All Progressives Congress candidate in the July 16th governorship election. Justice Inyang Ekwo fixed the date on Wednesday after counsel for the parties adopted their processes and presented their argument in the matter. The plaintiff in the suit and a chieftain of the APC, Moshood Adeoti, had filed the matter through his legal team led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chisonu Opoko. Adeoti was one of the aspirants who lost the APC governorship tickets to Governor Oyetola in the party's primary held on February 19th. In the originating summons, he prayed the court to nullify Oyetola's candidacy on the grounds that the governor contested in the poll as a member of the party's caretaker extraordinary and convention planning committee. The plaintiff said the act contravened the provisions of Section 222 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, and Article 31, Para 3 of the APC, October 2014, as amended. Peter Obi has stormed Osun State to campaign for Lasun Yusuf, his party's candidate in Saturday's governorship election. Obi appealed to residents not to sell their vote, advising residents to collect money from vote buyers and then vote for Labour Party. He said Yusuf is competent and capable to be the next governor of Osun State.
Vote for competence. Vote for people who have worked. Osun State today, you know, go and check out what they're owing. Go and check out what Osun State is owing. Go and check the problem that's happening in Osun State. Everything that's happening here, it is because you voted for the wrong party. Vote for Labour Party for the future of your children. We are going to introduce you to a governor who will be committed to a better Osun State, to giving a better Osun State. That is what we want. Don't collect money. In the next 4 years, it will be worse. Do not collect money. Or like someone said, collect the money and keep it. And for your conscience is your money they have stolen.
The son of Senator Ifeanyi Ararume, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress APC, Ifeanyi Ararume Jr., has defected to the Labour Party after being denied the PDP ticket to vie for the Okigwe Senatorial Zone in the 2023 general elections. Ararume was a former commissioner for commerce, industry and tourism under Governor Rochas Okorocha's administration, resigned from the People's Democratic Party, where he was aspiring to contest, saying that the circumstances beyond his control necessitated a change in his political party membership. The first son of former two-time Senator Ifeanyi Ararume, in his address to the people of Okigwe Senatorial Zone on Thursday, said he intends to carry out the responsibilities of the office when elected to the best of his ability. In Ondo State, the state governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu has signed into law the first amendments to the State Security Network Agency Law Code named Amotekun. Akeredolu, who assented to the bill at the State Executive Chamber of his office, noted that the new amendments became imperative in light of the heightened insecurity across the state. The governor assured that the amended law would enhance the security architecture of the state and help the Amotekun Corps to perform better. And in Ogun State, the State House of Assembly and stakeholders in the state have thrown their weight behind the 44 alteration bills approved by the National Assembly for the consideration of state houses of assembly into the country. The stakeholders canvassed for the speedy passage and subsequent assent by the President during a public hearing on the fifth alteration of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered, held at the Assembly Complex, Okemosan, Abeokuta. The stakeholders agreed in unison that subsequent passage, assent and implementation of the bills would enhance national development, especially through a more independent legislature, judiciary and local government system that would deepen democratic process. INEC has said that two political parties are yet to upload their nominations for the 2023 presidential election. INEC National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, identified the two parties as the New Nigeria People's Party and the African Action Congress. Okoye made this known in a statement, reiterating that the political parties still have 3 days for the nomination of candidates for the election. A former Kano State Governor, Rabi Musa Kokwanso, is the presidential candidate of NNPP, while Sahara Reporters publisher Omoyele Sowore is the candidate of the ASC. Okoye said the commission has so far processed 6,995 nomination forms uploaded by 16 out of 18 political parties for the constituencies where they intend to sponsor candidates. The national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Adamu, has described the party's Muslim-Muslim ticket as the work and will of God, saying Christians in the country who are agitated by the choice need not fear. Adamu says he is confident the APC will win Saturday's Austrian governorship election as a pointer to its victory in 2023. The APC chairman stated this when he led the party's National Working Committee on a courtesy visit to President Muhammadu Buhari at his residence in Daura, Katsina State. He said the visit was to brief President Buhari on what transpired in Osun State on Tuesday during the APC governorship mega rally campaign. According to Adamu, the party went through a rigorous practical assignment on the selection process before arriving at the Muslim-Muslim ticket.
The matter is, God doesn't do anything in vain. God must have reason for having two of us, or two major persuasions, religious persuasions, to be in this country. And each of these groups have got people who have reason to believe they have a stake also. We've had time when Christians led this country. We've had time when Muslims not in the country. We can't deny that fact. We can't have what we want at a point in time, all of us agreeing to one thing. The fact of the matter is, we appreciate that the Christians are interested in it, no doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is, we're as practical as we can in this situation, and we do hope that people will see reason. Nobody is wanting to promote Christianity or Muslim ticket necessarily, but we have to face the reality of our politics in the country. And that's what exactly we're doing.
And barely 24 hours after the announcement of Senator Kashim Shettima by the APC's presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, as his running mate in the 2023 general elections, the Christian Association of Nigeria, Kaduna State Chapter, has rejected such a move. The body says that such a decision has no respect for the unity, peace, and progress of the country, and that it prioritizes selfishness, greed, and personal unhealthy.
The running mate has been a tug of war, ticket as an insult to the Christians in that political party.
The implication of such a decision is that such a candidate has no respect for the unity, peace, and progress of Nigeria. It is also suggests that the candidate is just a candidate that prioritizes selfishness, greed, and personal unhealthy interests above the good of the nation. The federal character principle that a particular group occupy major ministries in the nation. Well, clearly we know many have just cause to argue that leadership in Nigeria in the most recent past is with the high ethnic nepotism. Well, one can rightly say that what we are seeing is another phase of this religious nepotism. If you have a Christian president, or a Muslim president, the vice president, then you are just changing from a tribal nepotism to a religious nepotism. Arguments have been deduced out there that no, we are not looking, we couldn't find a competent Christian. How we ask ourselves, how can someone talk about competence when you talk about Christians? The fact about it is that in the north of Nigeria, if you are looking for the best brain, if you choose 10, 8 of them will be Christians. We are just trying to say that what has happened is condemnable, it is not right, it is not proper, but it has given us with a good option that we have a choice. We won't go to people who want to divide us. We will seek for parties and institutions that want to unite us. And Nigerians are not fools. Nigerians are coming out of a divisive system that has eaten the country. Nigerians are struggling to come out of a system that is so skewed one-sided to the extent that sometimes Nigerians will tell you that the security architecture of this country is virtually of one tribe and one religion having the highest percent. That is why decisions are narrow, decisions are not broad, decisions are narrow, decisions are not properly understood. Because when you want to discuss about me and to solve my problem, and there's nobody in that sitting who understands what I stand for and what I believe, you would take decisions that will not go right.
The apex religious body says every political party must be able to educate, sensitize, and mobilize their faithful followers to vote against anything that is being considered as a danger to the unity, peace,
progress and development of the country.
And in Taraba State, the Emir of Muri, Abbas Njuda Tafida, has urged the people of the state to be productive to avoid being beggars in the society. Njuda Tafida spoke at the inauguration of the distribution of emergency release of assorted food commodities to the vulnerable people in the state by the Minister of Transportation, Muhazu Sambo, in Jalingo. Minister of Transportation, Muhazu Sambo, said that the emergency food intervention by the federal government was caused by the global food crisis as a result of COVID-19 and climate change. The federal government has accused the Academic Staff Union of Universities of unilaterally fixing the salaries of lecturers, saying that there was no collective bargaining agreement between parties yet. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, in a statement by the Deputy Director of Press and Public Relations in the ministry, Olajide Oshundu, accused ASU of fixing its salaries and allowances through the NIMI Bricks Committee to the exclusion of the statutory government ministries and agencies that manage finances. According to him, the committee's proposal of 109 to 185% wage increase would cost 560 billion naira in salaries alone, up from 412 billion naira, and thereby urged lecturers to return to work. Meanwhile, Bishop Matthew Kuka says it is unacceptable that Nigerian universities are still closed after so many months. Bishop Kuka stated this at the signing of a peace accord ahead of the Osun State governorship election. He asserted that a prolonged strike does not speak well of the democracy we profess to be practicing. The cleric said it is quite sad that the strike has lasted this long, particularly because democracy has always given the people a platform for negotiation, consensus, and several other means for solving such issues as exist between the government and the authorities of the various universities. He said Nigeria must come to understand that without the universities given opportunities for academic energy, analysis, and theorizing, it is impossible for the nation's democracy to grow. The bishop asserted that the most important thing for political actors at this moment is to take their responsibilities sufficiently serious. And the chief of whip of the Nigerian Senate, Orji Uzo Kalu, has called on the federal government to immediately put up measures to end the prolonged industrial action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In a statement he signed, the lawmaker said incessant strikes by the lecturers could lead to poor quality of graduate. He called on both parties to stop playing with the future of Nigerian youth who have been at home for over 5 months. The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, in conjunction with Women Affairs Poverty Alleviation Department of Agbado Okiodo Local Council Development Area, Ayobo Ikpaja LCDA, and Moson Kuala LCDA, organized an interactive seminar in the areas with the theme, "It on Us to End Sexual and Gender-Based Violence." The phrase, which was also written in Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba language, is to sensitize the people of the community on different forms of sexual abuse. The Executive Secretary of Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, Titilola Vivo Adeniyi, and others say women should speak out whenever they are being molested so that the perpetrators can be punished.
This is the 8th local government year in the year. We've been to 7, this is the 8th.
Land
We're hoping that by the end of this year we would have covered the 20.
If you leave for another
and
5
then
years,
we'll
you
now
don't
go
go
to
how
the
many
real
millions?
grassroots, which is the world levels.
But we
a lot
cannot
of people
this one,
are
I don't see my
dying in
friends.
silence.
They are happening.
There is a culture of silence that
demand finish, you don't
encourages
get
the perpetration
money.
of domestic
Yes,
and
they
sexual
want
violence.
make it provide.
And one of the sure ways of breaking that culture
You don't get
is
from.
imparting knowledge, imparting information. And that's why we're here
So
today.
let the man
The
that one
statistics show
prepared girl.
reporting
The
is on
girls
the
we are
rise.
raising now
These
are not
issues
the
have
girls that
always
are going
been
to be sitting
there.
down.
It's just that what we're doing is gradually breaking the
They
culture
are
of
girls
silence.
Sexual abuse is sexual intercourse, or rapes is intercourse without consent. So whether it's within marriage or outside marriage, you are supposed to get consent from your wife. But for children, they can't give us consent. I will tell you, one of my first cases was a man who was sleeping with his 3-year-old child, and he started also again sleeping with a year and 8 months child. And the mother knew and ran away from the house because the society feels if she remained, she was trying to go back even with all those atrocities.
It happens that we noticed that a child in a class was not performing well, and each time they are teaching her in the class, she will be somewhere else. Sometimes sleeping, sometimes not happy, sometimes lost. So we took step as a guardian to see what is really happening to her. So later, she opened up to us that the father had been sleeping with her for 6 years. Another thing is that we should blame the mother, because even though if you're a mother, if you're a stepmother or a real mom, you are a guardian, and you should be able to know if something like that is going around in the house.
If you carry case go police station, go report for them, say come see where dem dey rape o. Then go meet and say na this woman come tell me. Na im be say you don enter one chance o. You go just see boys come meet you for house, general beating. Bang bang amebo we go there clinic. I don talk my own, the experience wey I dey see for those wey dey do am. The thing wey I wan make it dem do be say if we go report for them, say see this o, make dem dey take action immediately. No be say dem go ask money for biro, money for big note, money for okada.
The Federal Road Safety Corps, Delta Command, has urged motorists to drive with utmost caution and care to avoid road traffic crash, especially in the rainy season. The sector commander, Udeme Eshet, in Asaba, said that drivers should apply common sense while driving so that when they encounter challenges such as brake failure, they would be able to maneuver through. Eshet, who admonished motorists to shun overloading, speeding, and the use of mobile phones while driving, urged them to install the speed limit devices in their vehicles, especially commercial vehicles, to curtail speeding. Zimbabwe has received the reassurance of support from the African Development Bank Group and multilateral financial institutions to help clear its debt arrears. AFDB Group on its website said that the reassurance was given during a meeting with the president of the bank, Akinwumi Adesina, government that would resolve the country's debt. And to other parts of Africa, the people of Libya are enduring electricity cut of up to 18 hours a day, despite their country sitting atop Africa's largest proven oil reserves. After a decade of violence, rising poverty, and fragmenting government, many have reached the limit of their tolerance. Demonstrators touched and ransacked the House of Representatives based in the eastern city of Tobruk, along with other official buildings, while masked protesters burnt ties and blocked roads in Tripoli.
The people of Libya are enduring electricity cuts of up to 18 hours a day, despite their country sitting atop Africa's largest proven oil reserves. After a decade of violence, rising poverty, and fragmenting government, many have reached the limits of their tolerance. Public anger spilled into the streets earlier this month when protests drew thousands demanding power restoration. This is my bedroom. When it's hot, I sleep with my children here. I removed the back seats and turned them into a bedroom because it is air-conditioned. That's our life these days. I have 250 square meter house. Many of Libya's 7 million people have turned to unreliable gas, gasoline, and polluting generators for electricity. Most dependable models cost those who can afford them around $5,000. The problems we are facing due to the lack of electricity are not limited to myself or to one citizen. The whole population is suffering because of it. As a citizen, I am at loss for words. We get electricity 2 hours a day. Under Gaddafi, Libya boasted a generous welfare state financed by oil revenue, but the country is now experiencing conflict division, with fuel squandered, infrastructure damage or dilapidated, and crippling oil facility blockades. Yesterday I went to the bank early to take out money, but I waited in the queue until 3 p.m. I did not get my salary because the bank system was out of order due to lack of electricity, and so I was not able to buy household necessities for El and other. Why? Because the state is absent. May God make it easy on us. Meanwhile, the interim Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Beiba said 3 power stations were to open this month, 2 in the west and 1 in the east.
And outside Africa, Sri Lanka's main city, Colombo, remains calm as people waited for the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who fled to the Maldives to escape a popular uprising that erupted as the country struggles with an economic crisis. Some protesters sat on steps of the presidential secretariat as rallying songs played from speakers at the protest site, and others slept under statues while waiting for updates on the situation. The area around Parliament has been deserted as police manned a barricade on the approach road. Nearby, life returned to normal, with shops open and plenty of cars on the road. And in business news, Nigeria's Debt Management Office has cautioned that Nigeria might drop into debt distress unless it earns more revenue, defending the government's Eurobond issuances to fund its spending plans. It emphasized that the nation needs to generate significantly more revenue beyond current levels to avoid debt distress. The DMO in a statement noted that while other developing and advanced countries have higher debt as a proportion of gross domestic products than Nigeria, the nation's revenue to GDP ratio is much lower. And in entertainment news, maverick entertainer and activist Charles Oputa, popularly known as Charlie Boy, has asked Nigerians to fight for freedom and confront oppressors ahead of the 2023 election. Charlie Boy, via his Twitter page, while querying the capability of current Nigerian leaders in office, activists asked Nigerians to get their PVCs in order to cause a change, stressing that enough is enough. He asked whether many Nigerians would willingly employ the current political office holders to run their businesses. And finally, in sport news, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag has hinted at a new role for Donny van de Beek in the team. Ten Hag is backing his compatriots to turn his career at Old Trafford around by playing in a more advanced role because he smells opportunities around goal. Van de Beek has struggled since leaving Ajax, where he was a key part of Ten Hag's title-winning team 2 years ago. Host Morocco has progressed in Rabat to their first ever semi-finals in Women's Africa Cup of Nations history after overcoming an exciting Botswana side 2-1. The victory also ensured that the Atlas Lionesses also secured the country's maiden place at the Women's World Cup. They qualified for next year's competition in Australia and New Zealand following the quarter-final victory in Rabat. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on www.limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Khadijat Balogun. Many thanks for watching.
And start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card
0408408 or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am